Welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director, and excited to talk about one of the best rivalries. Forget the sport, the situation, the state, whatever. We're talking Battle of the Woods. Tonight's District 10 4A basketball matchup at Ravenwood. For the second week in a row, we've got Coach Andrew James of Ravenwood. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me again.
And for the first time, not only this year, but ever, because he's first year at Brentwood High School, Coach John Wilkins. Welcome to WCS and welcome to the Coaches Show.
Thanks, Coach. Happy to be here.
So, again, Coach James, you're back for the second straight week. Coach Wilkins, first year in WCS, first Coaches Show. We'll talk a little bit more about where you've been here in just a second. Coach James, so you lose last week to a very good Nolensville team.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of folks have lost to them and are going to. But you bounce back with a win at Centennial on Tuesday night. Had to help the confidence of your team.
Oh yeah, I did. It was a good win. We jumped on them early, and we're able to keep that lead, and then we stretched that again there at the end. And so for our very young team, it was a big confidence booster and something we really needed.
Hey, Coach, I noticed this too, because I think this is hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
You're still competing. You're competing. The players seem to be enjoying you and the staff and each other.
Yeah.
It's noticeable.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, we all know what we're dealing with right now, and when you have someone like a senior, Emmeline Reyes, that has been such a good leader, so good to these girls. I mean, they're going to follow her, and I've just told them we're not going to stop competing. It doesn't matter what the score is. Like, we're always looking for ways to get better. So that has been our mentality. So I'm glad other people are seeing that too, and I'm really proud of them buying into what we're doing. We know this is a process for them right now.
Coach Wilkins, we'll talk about your teams here in just a little bit. Give our audience a little background. We know you're at Brentwood right now, your first year as a girls coach, but talk about where you've been.
All right. Yes, sir. So I got my coaching start in 2006 in Henry County with my dad. I was actually just telling Coach about this a minute ago, and fortunate that my dad convinced the superintendent to hire me because I didn't have my degree fully finished, education, had a college degree, and had no experience to speak of, but got to kind of get in the door because of my dad, and got to learn from him for 6 years, very valuable. Looking back, it's the days before huddle, before crossover, and, I kid with him, but it's true. Like, I had to have the stats in his hand by 8 a.m. when I got to school the next morning. And, it just, first year I'm living at home with him. So, but beyond that, I mean, he kind of held me to some standards on that. But, that's something that just kind of helped prepare me, and just watching him and learning from him. I played for him, obviously, but that experience was different, being able to coach alongside him, and just great memories I'll always have of my dad. And but after that, in 2012, he was ready to go to somewhere else, and he kind of started looking, and he hung on for me for a while, hoping I could take over at Henry County. That was kind of the original goal he had, but it just kind of got to where he needed to go. So he went to Gibson County, and he's still there coaching girls, and having a good career. But I tried to get Henry County job, didn't pan out, and so McKenzie opened up down the road, a 1A school, and my wife said, we don't have to move, we can commute. It's about 15 minutes, and we, went down there, threw our name in the hat, and we applied, and fortunately, nobody wanted that job. There was only 3 applicants. One of them was still in college, and so somehow or another, got my foot in the door there, started out coaching guys, and I got to coach guys there for 12 years, and guys and girls the last 4 years. COVID hit, and my principal there is a great man, and I consider him a good friend of mine. And just one day I drove by his house bored, and Coach, what do you think about, if I was to throw my name in the hat for that and do both? Because I have 3 daughters, and they're getting older. And long story short, anyway, he said, yeah, eventually we met with the superintendent and did that, and they just said, now, don't tell me in 1 year that you're getting out because I don't have a teaching spot. You got, all right, I'll stay with you. And so, and I was kind of blessed coming in at a good time. We had some good freshman girls coming up, and so I did that the last 4 years. And then this opportunity, this spring, me and my wife just kind of felt like God was kind of urging us to look in a different direction. And again, longer than we have time for today, but we were able to come down here and interview. And, I can remember pulling up to Brentwood, and it's just a different world than what I'd experienced. Last night, Ella Ryan was a little bit late getting to the JV game to watch, and she said, I got stuck in all this traffic, whatever. And I'm like, well, Ella, in Mackenzie, you're either behind a tractor or an Amish cart. And she's like, is that real? I'm like, yes, that's real. Like, just a different, but so that's kind of what led me with a lot of other things to Brentwood and my family. But now me and my wife and my 3 girls are here, and 2 of the girls go to Lipscomb Elementary, and one of them's at Brentwood Middle next to me. So she comes with Dad, walks over to school every day, and that's kind of neat too.
You had some state championship success at Mackenzie too, Coach. I mean, you didn't bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, yes, sir. That was pretty special. When I took the job, there was a good freshman class coming in, and one of the girls named Savannah Davis, who's freshman at MTSU this year, and she's a heck of a player. And kind of like Ella and some of these girls here, like, they make you look smarter than you are. And but we were able to kind of learn together that first year. Never coaching girls. I didn't really know going in, and what it would be like, but ended up they, in so many ways, basketball is basketball, I think, and you hold kids to standards. And so I got the pleasure of coaching them, and she had a good run. Her freshman year, they got Loretto, Carly Weathers, if remember that name.
Good player.
Beat us in the region semifinals by 8, and should have been worse, and they went on and won the state championship. Well, then next year they moved up AA, and I didn't really dream we'd get there, Coach, but her sophomore year, it was kind of one of those, trying to keep going all of a sudden, and then we get the one to go to the Glass House and playing with house money. And we were able to end up winning the championship that year against a good Wayne County team. And then lo and behold, the next year, her junior year, Savannah's. Anyway, long story short, she was able to come back healthy and kind of lead us through that next run. But it was special, Coach. The idea to be able to even get to the Glass House, and I know that and then the pipe dream of winning one, and then the fairy tale of winning 2 in a row.
Right.
You got to have luck. You've got to have a lot of things go your way along the way. But that was some memories that was special to me and my family, and just something that still I get chill bumps. If we watch a rerun, or I'm just glad I got to be a part of it.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Coach James, let's talk about your team a little bit more. Yep. 52-14 win Tuesday night over Centennial. I'm not trying to make you look ahead, but I looked ahead. Your next 3 are pretty tough, right? You got Brentwood, Page, and a Franklin team that's playing pretty well. So, again, tough stretch for your young team. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Got to be ready to play.
Yeah, we're just worrying about us and, continuing to get better. I mean, when I'm making practice plans, it's just trying to develop these girls. We talked last week, too, about how a lot of these girls are playing JV as well, so they're getting a lot of games in, and hopefully that'll pay off. He was talking about his freshman group at Mackenzie, and, I would like to have a similar run like that. So that'd be nice with this freshman group at some point. But I mean, that's just we're just building, and we're trying to keep it fun and positive. But look, we go in every game thinking that we're going to do these things to be successful and try to win. So we're not going in moral victories and all that sort of stuff. We're there to compete, and we will compete at a high level. So
let's talk about this. In that Centennial matchup, you're both looking for your first league win, but you established very early on and took control of that game. You were the dominant team that night. Right,
yeah. And it's with our defense. I mean, we've struggled at times offensively, but our defense, we're full court pressing. That's what we're going to do. And of course, I know that's what he's doing as well. So this will be up and down game, but that's just. We're going to hang our hat on that, and really that produces a lot of offense for us is our press. So, yeah, it was good for us to come out early. We've made for the last couple of games, we really made a point of emphasis starting early because we had some games where we're getting down 12-0, and we said, hey, we're not going to start. We're going to make an emphasis to not start poorly. So that's been good the last couple of games for us.
Let's talk a little Brentwood basketball. 64-33 winner on Tuesday night over Independence. 5-0 now in district play. 12-3 overall. Obviously, you talk Brentwood, you got to talk about Ella Ryan, district MVP, Wilco Award winner last year, and she becomes the school's all-time leading scorer, surpassing Amelia Osgood, another great player from a couple of years ago, and still a lot of games to play, Coach Wilkins.
Yeah, you know, that was a milestone, kind of neat to be a part of. I've just kind of got to see a small snapshot of her career, but I know there's been a lot of people that have kind of had influence on her. And you know, last night in the locker room we talked. I mentioned to her in front of her teammates, like, also, you know, it's a testament to the work that you've put in, because you know, a lot of times in those scenarios, your kid who's your leading scorer, as a coach, I don't really brag on her a lot in the locker room. You know, I just think that we need to point out other kids that are, and we've been fortunate to have a lot of other kids contribute and step up. But you know, she's special and definitely fun to coach. And I hope I do have a lot of games left with her this year. But you know, beyond just Ella, and she'd be the first to say it, she sent a text out last night in our group text just bragging on her teammates. You know, and they're all finding ways to contribute. One thing I like about this team is they're very selfless. You know, I don't see my shot mentality. It's kind of, I don't want to compare to the Spurs or anybody, you know, because I mean, that was different, but where you're sharing the basketball, finding the next person,
right,
finding the hot hand. And that's hard to get kids to do, especially in today's game when so much is about me. And, you know, I think the more that we can kind of learn to be a unit like that, it will help us overall. But so far, it's been fun. Hope we got a little time left.
Let's talk about the district standings. So we got Brentwood, Ravenwood, both 5-0, Page 4-1. Then you got Franklin, Indy, both 2-3. You're 1-4, along with Summit, Coach. So it's starting to shape up a little bit. But I would say this, Coach James, record-wise, you're a game out of fourth. It's not like you're, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. A big win here or there, and then you're in the mix in that middle of the pack deal.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been paying much attention to the standings because that really our focus has to be on each day, each game. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to know that you know we can kind of be in the mix a little bit. But you know, our main focus, again, I know it's cliche, but it really is like it's worrying about player development, all these sorts of things. Like that's been our number one thing, and just continuing to help these girls grow in a situation where they're, you know, we got a bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds playing against 17 and 18-year-olds. So,
And your livelihood's based on it.
yeah, I know it is.
Whose boyfriend broke up with them?
I know, yeah, you gotta deal with that. So.
No, doing a great job, Coach. Coach Wilkins, at least so far, and I know you're going to give me some coach speak about we've got a lot of games to play, but right now, your team, Nolensville, Page, y'all sort of separated a little bit in terms of the top of the standings.
Well, Nolensville and Page were two that I knew coming in that were going to be, you know, somebody I had to deal with, because I just look back at how Brentwood did last year. You know, Nolensville upsets them in the semifinals. I say upset. Yeah, it was seeding-wise. In semifinals, and I think beat them twice overall, and Page beat them 3 times. I asked my seniors going into that game, how many times have y'all beat Page? Once, since they've been in high school. And so I knew that was a mountain to climb, but also, I mean, Franklin obviously gave us a tough battle the other night, and we've yet to play Nolensville. And one thing I've kind of noticed from Mark throughout the years is, you know, especially on the boys' side, but I think the girls' side's getting there too. It's pretty competitive, and on given nights, like, there's people capable of beating you if you don't show up and bring it every night. And kind of like Coach says, focused on yourself. Like, something we kind of talk about is it's not we're going to do this for this opponent. We're going to do this because this is what we've got to do to be able to play at a high level. And fortunately, I mentioned Ella, Coach, but I've had some other seniors step up for me and be great leaders. Olivia Castaña's having a great year. Kelsey Lorenzi just does a lot of good things that don't always show up on the stat sheet. Natalie Housted's come on and proven herself to be a weapon. And last night, and she's a junior, but I thought Paige Morris really stepped up. And she's a cog for us too. So I'm blessed to have a lot of different kids who are capable of doing certain things. But like I said, on a given night, they're just kind of buying into who needs it that night. What do we need to do to be successful? And I know we got our hands full, Coach. I mean, I do not expect to, anywhere close, and that's not coach speak, go unblemished in the district, because I know we're going to get everybody's best every night, and I know that we're fortunate to have gotten a couple of the games we have. They could have gone either way, so hopefully we can find a way to keep getting better and ultimately be playing our best basketball here in a few weeks.
So let's talk a little bit more specifically about tonight's game. And you mentioned Mark, brother Mark Wilkins, head coach at Independence High School. Coach James, Battle of the Woods, something I have learned about the Battle of the Woods. Throw the records out. I've seen it in different sports, different situations. This is a special one.
Yeah, this game does a lot to people, and I was with Coach Whitlock for years on the boys' side, and I've seen the student section take over more than half of the stands, and the parents don't even have a place to sit. So like it's a big game, and obviously something that our school and our students, not just players, but the students at our schools really look forward to, and it's fun. There's a different, you can just feel it when you're in the gym, and it's a special rivalry, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Hopefully we come out and can play well and do what we need to do. But yeah, it's fun time, and everyone gets a little bit crazy about this game. So,
Coach Wilkins, I can't wait till the next time that we talk, and you've experienced it for the first time, what your opinion is about the Battle of the Woods. But I know being there at Brentwood High School, they've been talking about it.
Yeah, I guess during football season, Coach, I walked into school one day and there was like duct tape on all these words, like on letters, covering up. I couldn't figure out what it was. It literally took me like a day. The next day, I'm like, "What is all this stuff?" And they're like, "Coach, we're covering up all the R's." I'm like, "What? Oh, okay, Ravenwood."
We cover up all the B's.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning the ins and outs of all that, and not being from here. It's going to be a little different for me initially because I didn't grow up with that kind of rivalry, but also it's exciting to me. I've been able to be a part of rivalries at different places, kind of similar format,
Sure.
And got to see, game day show you and Tate did for football was pretty neat. And are we doing that Friday night?
No, not Friday night.
Okay.
Not Friday night.
Put him on the spot. But, just hearing how much it means to everybody. And you're right, rivalry games, things do go out the window. I've been on all sides of that, throughout my career. And I noticed early in the season, I got to watch Coach play Mount Juliet when I was first week of season, I think, from memory. And his kids do play really hard. That's one thing that stood out to me then. And, to have that youth and growing, I know last night was big for them, but they're going to be a handful. Every night step on the floor, I think you're going to get the other teams their best effort against you. I know that they really want to beat Brentwood, and I'm sure Brentwood really wants to beat, Ravenwood or vice versa. But, it'll be special, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
And we're talking again about tonight's Battle of the Woods.
Yes, sir.
We've got Brentwood traveling to Ravenwood. Good luck to both of you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
We'll be back to talk to the boys' coaches after this short break. Welcome back to the Coaches Show. We're talking about tonight's Battle of the Woods. It's the WCTV basketball game of the week. We have our boys' coaches now back for 2 straight weeks, and for maybe the 30th time in his career, Coach Patrick Whitlock of Ravenwood. Coach, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And the rookie. For the first time on the Coaches Show, we had Coach John Wilkins. He was in the last segment there at Brentwood High School. We've got Troy Crane, first-year head coach at Brentwood. Coach, glad to have you there.
Hey, appreciate you having us.
Hey, Coach Crane. Now, listen, it's interesting. I was looking at this. I had to go back and look. Year 4 at Brentwood, spent the previous 3 as assistant coach with Coach Troy Bond. For anybody who's become a first-year head coach for someone, it almost feels like you're not first year, to me at least, because I've always viewed, we go way back, Wilson Central Beach days, you guys at Oakland, really a team, you and Coach Bond. So you just moved up a seat, and there's different responsibilities, but it doesn't feel first year to me. Does it feel first year to you?
Well, I get asked that a lot because it says, what only difference now, I feel like I get to stand up to yell, but I'm still mopping the same floor, cleaning the same toilets, and doing the same laundry. So not a lot's changed, no.
Do you have more email responsibilities?
The email responsibilities is the number one enemy of time that I do have to do. But luckily, I've got a system pat now. Coach Bond did a good job of kind of preparing me for that. So I got a good system down. So, hey, we get them weekly emails out to keep them parents happy.
Coach Whitlock, again, welcome back. The roller coaster of the district this year continues. You have, I think, maybe one of the biggest wins so far of the district, because you're sitting at 0 and whatever. Nolensville was undefeated. You have that big rivalry game, and you get the 11th win against 0 losses against Nolensville. What a win for your team last Friday night.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens.
Thursday night, because we moved it up.
Correct, yeah. So it's amazing what happens when the kids want to play with some passion and play with some fire and, do the little things. And that's kind of been a recurring theme for us. When we do the little things, we're not bad. When we don't, we're not very good. In this district, when you're not very good, you're in a lot of trouble.
Your comment to me after the game was, we've still got some pride in the program.
Yeah, I mean, we do. I think everybody kind of expected us to roll over. I mean, I think Nolensville kind of walked in there thinking like, well, if we just take care of business, we're going to be in good shape. And, that's just the way it goes. I mean, I've seen a lot of different rivalries in this district with Brentwood and with Franklin and really now everybody in Williamson County. And if you don't bring your A game, especially this year, it's just not going to work out in your favor. But we thought we were better than our record showed. We just hadn't proved it up until that point. And, now we're kind of back to square one, I guess, a little bit with another rivalry game on deck tonight.
Well, and I think people took notice, not that they didn't think you were, but that was kind of like, oh, okay. It is what we thought, that, everyone in the league can really be. And you take Centennial, who you take care of on Tuesday night, or excuse me, who you lose to, you both have one win. They had no wins going into that game. It's not like you were thinking, they're bottom of the pie, we'll take care of it. It's not like that.
No, you approach it like you're playing the best team in the state every night, because if you don't, it's not gonna work out for you.
You're better in this league, right? Coach Crane, let's do this real quick. Tell us, give our audience a little information about your background, where you've been.
Okay, I moved to Alabama from Alabama in 2003. Started working for Coach Bond at Wilson Central, and he and I were together there. I left and went to Lebanon High School for a couple of years and was head football coach there. Then come back, and he and I ended up going to Oakland together, and then we transitioned from Oakland to Brentwood. So long story short, he and I coached together for 21 years, and he let me run the offense, so to speak. He was kind of the defensive coordinator, so to speak, but he and I had a great working relationship. He's been a great mentor to me my entire coaching career, and it was just really good, the relationship that we had. Like when I would be running team offense, he would be coaching the scout defense. Say, hey, Coach, I don't think that's going to work. And a lot of times he was right, but that made me better as a coach. And then so now being able to lean on some of the things I learned from him has been very beneficial to me.
You know what's cool about it, Coach? Your game with Paige, I sat and talked to Coach Bond, and you can't make stuff up. You can always kind of tell if people really mean things. He's rooting for you just like he was doing it. In a way, I think he still feels like he's down there with you. He talked about you still talk to him and say, hey, watch a little film for me. Maybe come to practice today and look at this. The confidence in that says something about you, but it also speaks to what a team you really were.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, we have a deep friendship, number one, and that means a lot to me. And that's probably one of the things that I miss the most about it, because in the heat of the battles, and just he and I always had that connection. And now I'm kind of solo. I don't have him anymore, but he's been super, luckily still in the building, watches a lot of film for me, and I get to bounce ideas off of him. And thing about Coach Bond, he'll definitely tell you what he's thinking, and that's really good, because that feedback can be helpful to you as a coach and also to your players. But yeah, it's been awesome to have him there in the building and being able to bounce ideas off of.
And Coach Crane, for some reason, I can't ever get over this, and I tell people this all the time, because you told me the first time when you first told me that Coach Bond, you said he doesn't watch sports. I was like, he doesn't do what?
No.
You're like, he watches no sporting events.
Right.
Zero.
Correct. He has his life, and that's one thing I think that aided in his longevity as a coach, because he had the ability to, when it was over with, he walked out the door and it was over with, and he got to decompress, have his 2 days off, go to his rock concerts, go working out, stuff like that. So he could do that. I have a notepad sitting on my nightstand, and I wake up at 2 a.m. and I write notes down because I'm tossing and turning about stuff. So that never happened with him. So.
And let the audience know, Coach Whitlock, who I've known a long time, you are a sports fan beyond basketball.
I mean, pretty big sports fan. I think I need to hire Coach Bond as a therapist. I don't know. I can't put it down. You go from one thing to the other. That's pretty impressive.
It is. When I first found that out, I was like, I just can't believe that. But it's definitely true. All right, let's talk about your teams a little more. Coach Whitlock, 7-11, 1-4 in district play. You lose a tough one on Tuesday night, 56-52 at Centennial. It was a hard-fought game. It was one of those you just knew whoever makes a little run at the end, you could be sitting here 2-3 and being in a different position, but it's not what happened.
Yeah, it's not. We had a game plan of not letting Daniel Patton and Carter Ezel beat us, and they did. I mean, they hit 8 threes between the two of them. We kind of sleptwalked through the first half, didn't really execute very well, and played pretty good in the second half, just didn't make a few plays there in the last 3 or 4 minutes. So it was a disappointing outcome, but that's just kind of the way it goes right now. So we had to have short memories and get back at it and get ready for tonight's game.
Kimple, Bonga, both been doing what you need them to do. I know you're asking a lot of them. Other guys who you're saying, you know what, he's starting to step up a little more too.
I mean, I think Isaac Brent is a kid that is starting to kind of find his role. He's been out for a pretty long time, missed most of the offseason. So he's starting to kind of find his stride a little bit. But, in reality, we need some other guys to kind of step up and emerge. Matt Nava has kind of been a welcome addition to the starting lineup because he just goes out and does what he's asked, shoots the ball pretty well, follows the game plan. So that's, we're trying to piece together. That's really been the issue all year is we feel comfortable with 1, 2, maybe 3 guys, but who's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7 and who's going to carve out that time. And it's unfortunately been a revolving door. And, as soon as we get that figured out, we'll probably be in better shape.
Something I noticed, this is one thing as I watch games, and I always feel for coaches when these things happen because I've been there and these things drive you nuts and you work on them and talk about them. Not that you were going to win the game, but when you give up the offensive rebound on the free throw at the end, then you have no chance to win the game. I was thinking to myself, I know that's the first thing he's thinking. You have to get the rebound
right
to have a chance to win. It didn't lose or win. It's one play, but it's one of those things I know as a coach, it'll keep you up at night.
Well, we tried to use it as a teaching point. I went in the locker room and said we might point to that play as why we didn't win, but there were about 15 plays we didn't make before that that were probably more impactful.
It's the most noticeable.
Yeah, it's in the moment.
At the time. Coach Crane, I thought your team, you get a big bounce back. You have that win over Independence, 67-54 on Tuesday night. You have an emotional kind of game. We talk about this game, Battle of the Woods, but also that Franklin-Brentwood game. That's one of those games in this district. You drop a tough one on Friday, but then you bounce back. I think we all kind of know this. In this league, if you get too high after a win, it's going to cost you the next game. If you get too low after a loss, it's going to cost you the next game. So I thought your team did a great job on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because in the locker room, that's exactly kind of what we talked about. We can't let the grind of this district, if you lose one, you can't let it beat you twice. It can only beat you once. And our guys, we're disappointed in the fact, but was able to get Spivey back in the lineup, and that paid the big dividends because of just his experience, him being able to communicate our rotations on defense. So it was really great having him back, and I think that's kind of the jolt that we needed to be able to keep Independence off the glass because they do such a great job of attacking the glass. I joke all the time. I told them, I said, their 2 best offenses is when they shoot the open 3 and then they shoot it and Tylen goes gets the rebound. So we made it a point to find him. So having Kevin back definitely helped out.
Again, Kevin Spivey out for that Franklin game. Hey, your team, and if I'm the other teams in the league, I'm not very happy about this. Anytime you talk about your team, it's usually followed with, and he'll be back next year, and he'll be back maybe 2 more years. Davis Cochran, one of my favorite guys to watch in the league, only a sophomore, doesn't play like a sophomore. Obviously, Jackson McCutcheon, he's done some record-breaking kind of things in terms of hitting threes this year. But talk about those young guys, in particular Davis. I thought in the tournament last year, he just, there was a situation in maybe your game with Franklin in the tournament where, and not in a dirty way, but he had a little conversation with a veteran player like, hey, I'm here and I'm only a freshman. I love that about him. He's got that. You always had guys like that at Wilson Central who had that little extra about him, and he's one of those guys.
Yeah, he is. He's a super competitor, and a lot of people want to compare him to his older brother Daniel, but they're two totally different players. Davis is really making a name for himself. Early on in the year, he loved to spend time behind the three-point line, with McCutcheon and stuff. But we've had the challenge that we're going to have nights, even though we shoot a lot of threes, we're going to have nights where the three don't fall. So how are we going to score? And a lot of times he is our mismatch that we can go to, and he's done a good job of developing his post game and finding ways to be able to score when the three don't fall.
You had some special nights shooting the three. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, a 23-3 night, a 23 night. McCutcheon hits, 11 in a game. It's been pretty fun to watch your team play. And listen, you've done a good job of this. It's what we've got to do to be successful.
Right. And, coming in to this year, like last year, for an example, our offense was, hey, let's pound the rock inside to Daniel Cochran because he's going to get a double, triple team. We didn't have very many people that was a threat to score in the perimeter. So our guys bought into it as well, that we work really hard in the offseason, spring practice, and this summer, and we shoot threes, we shoot layups, and we shoot free throws. And that's all that we shoot. And those guys, it plays to their strengths, and they've done a really, really good job of doing that. And that's helped us to eliminate some of those double teams because you do have people that's a threat to score above the free throw line.
Coach, I can't help but ask you about this because you're like an analytics guy. When you hear that threes and layups kind of thing, there's probably something that's in there that, like, hey, the mid-range game, I see people talking about it both ways. Hey, maybe we ought to shoot more mid-range. I hear other people saying, nah, the benefit of shooting the mid-range. What's some of your research on that?
I mean, ideally, we want to be the same way. I don't want to take mid-range shots either. It's kind of the analytic thing that I guess Alabama has kind of made famous here recently. And, this year at the BCAT clinic, Mike Neighbors, the women's coach at Arkansas, was
always entertaining.
Yeah, it was sitting right behind me, and we just start talking because, he's a great guy. And whatever coach was talking said something about that mid-range shot. And Neighbors, taps me on the shoulder and he goes, NBA players only make 41% of that shot. And I was like, that's great. So I'm writing that down. He's like, here, you need to buy this book. And of course, since he told me, I bought it right there on the spot on Amazon. It's called Sprawl Ball, but it's kind of like the emergence of that concept, which everybody's going to.
Was the speaker talking about forget the mid-range, or was he pro mid-range?
No, he was anti-mid-range.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the trend. I think it's not just high school, college, but I think it's in the NBA as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. It really is. Let's take a look at the district standings. So we got Centennial, Ravenwood 1 and 4, Indy 2 and 3. Then we've got a pile at 3 and 2. Summit, Page, Nolensville, Franklin, Brentwood on top at 4 and 1 for now. If you always look at these things. Probably not looking at too close right now. We're early in the season, but if you tried to figure out who's ahead of, what team's ahead of, you wouldn't even be able to figure it out at this point because we hadn't played each other once. I always think you don't really know until you play each other one time. Is what my thoughts are, Coach Whitlock.
Well, I had no clue what the standings are, and when you just said Indy's 2 and 3, I was like, "What?" Yeah, I mean, that did not even come across my radar. That's very surprising. But the way our season's gone, I haven't really done a whole lot of score watching. In fact, some of the kids this week at school were like, "You excited for the Battle of the Woods this week?" I was like, "It's Friday, for real." So I think we're kind of just trying to focus on ourselves, and quite honestly, we're kind of pointing to what Brentwood was a year ago.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what your exact record was, like 7-8 games in. I know it wasn't very good.
Not very good.
And then they caught fire at the end of the season and made that run. And I think there could be a team to emerge like that this year. A team that's seeded 6th, that is incredibly dangerous and could make a run. And at the end of the day, we hope that's us.
So we're talking about that state tournament run that you guys make as a 6th seed. Coach, if I'm not wrong, or tell me if I'm right about this, 5 and 9.
5 and 9 in the district.
That's what I thought.
Yep. And we had 7 losses by 3 points or less.
Yeah.
So, but we've talked about this a lot. Last year, there was a benefit to being 1, 2, 3, and 4. Whereas like this year, the way the district is, there's really no benefit in seeds 1 through 8 because the way our district is so competitive, anybody can beat anybody any night, and it's been proven thus far. So you've got to be playing your best basketball come tournament time because what you do now, I mean, it's like not for long. It's the consistency is the key, and if you're not ready, there's going to be a lot more of those higher seeds get upset by lower seeds.
When you're 4 games in, last week we were 4 games in, we had 0 undefeated teams. when you're 5 games in and there's only one team with 1 loss, it is just, I know it's stressful for you guys, but it is a lot of fun to watch because you really don't know. I'm in the mode right now that when the scores come out, I can't wait to see them. I'm like, I wonder what happened. When I saw Page 77, Franklin 49, I was sure it was a misprint. In fact, I texted the guy that posted. He's like, oh no, that's what happened. At front, you just don't know. Nights are different. You can get hot. Matchups are different. So it's been a lot of fun to watch from my seat at least. All right, let's talk about tonight's game a little bit more. Again, we're talking Battle of the Woods. Brentwood travels to Ravenwood, a big District 10 4A matchup. Coach Whitlock, what do you need to do to duplicate what happened last week, which was that big rivalry with Nolensville? You're coming in as the underdog. Now, Coach Crane's not going to agree with that, but on paper you are. What do you do to have that same kind of result?
I think, food poisoning for the Brentwood pregame meal would help. But, I mean, that's probably not very likely.
I think you said something about sickness last week.
I
This
did.
guy's he's like wishing like disease on people.
I'm not wishing it upon anybody. I said it would help. I want to be very clear, clear that up.
And we're
But-
not saying disease, we're saying temporary sickness.
I'll be sure to do an inspection of the team meal.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there. Trust me. So, we just have to take care of the little things because when you don't take care of the little things, they become big things. And Brentwood is obviously a great team. I mean, the job he's done this year is tremendous. I don't think we really knew what that was going to look like. I think a lot of people just assumed it was going to just be an extension of Troy Bond's program. It's not. He's made it his own program in a very short amount of time. The playing style is a little bit different, and the way they shoot the ball, I mean, that could be a nightmare. So you got to defend the 3. You got to make sure you don't give up a lot of offensive rebounds because offensive rebounds are going to lead to even better looks from 3. And then we got to make sure we make our possessions count, share the ball, and take good shots because there's nothing worse than taking a bad shot and then giving up a 3 on the other end. I mean, we had a game at Indy earlier this year where it's a 4-point game with 4 minutes to go, and we come up empty 3 trips in a row and they hit 3 threes and it looks like a blowout. So we got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Coach Crane, 4th year in the Battle of the Woods, but the first one as the head coach. You got to be excited about that.
Oh, it is fun. It's exciting for our kids. Means a lot to the community. But the thing about these rivalry games, the old cliche, you can throw the records out the window. And what it's really going to do, it's a hostile environment for our young basketball team. I mean, we've got 2 guys in our basketball program that have a lot of big game experience, and that's Hudson McKnight and that's Davis Cochran. And it's going to take a lot of buy-in to the scout because they've got a lot of weapons. They spread the ball, just as he mentioned, share it well, and they play hard, have always played hard on their home floor. So we know we've got a battle on our hands, and we're going to have to definitely be locked in and ready to perform at a high level.
Looking forward to it, gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. Looking forward to that game tonight, again, at Ravenwood High School.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us for the Coaches Show. We'll see you next time.